What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Daily Energy News Beat Stand-Up here on this chilly Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. As always, I am your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
It's a beautiful day in bear country, but I'm cold. That bear was not very nice to me when I curled up to him last night to warm up.
Nope, we are still iced over. We are recording this at about 6:15 on the 1st, so we are supposed to actually get some more freezing rain tonight, so hopefully as we wake up, all is clear. A quick programming note, guys. I will be gone tomorrow at a bachelor party, so send all your thoughts and prayers with me, but I will be back Sunday night. We may be recording a little late Sunday night, Stu, so we'll play it by ear there. So you'll have to put up with Stu tomorrow. I'll just pre-apologize for it. But you guys will survive, and we'll kick this back off on Monday. We have a great show for everybody lined up. I mean, there's a lot of stories to get to, Stu, and I don't even know where we want to begin. The first one we've got lined up: BP CEO downplays renewables push as return lags. Translation: investors expect returns and renewables are not profitable. This was a Wall Street Journal article that was absolutely great. Next, we've got McDermott joins in on Greece-Africa intercontinental pipeline project. Love to see good, electrical transportation via 2 gigawatt electrical interconnector between Greece and Egypt. We absolutely love to see that. Finally, what happens when 4 million trees are cut down to make a way for wind turbines? Answer: Scotland's littered by tons of toxic plastic shed by thousands of wind turbines. This is a story that we ran 4 or 5 months ago on Newsbeat. It's still our most searched for story. Looks like we have an update to that, and let me tell you, it's definitely not good. Next, NATO chief wants military tanks to have solar panels. As Stu says in the quote here, it takes a village to raise an idiot, and the green village is global. You've been good on titles, Stu. I'll give you that. Next up, we found no misuse of U.S. funds in Ukraine, says U.S. Treasury Secretary with a straight face. I find that funny. It's going to be very interesting to see where all of this Ukraine money at. And finally, from our friend Terry Edom, he wrote a column: an open letter to Californians, a high utility bill explanation, and a path to a smarter energy future. Stu will kick it over to me. I will quickly cover finances. We did have the 25 basis points increase that was confirmed today by U.S. Fed Chair Powell. He set the guidance for 4.5 to 4.75 and said to expect future rate cuts. Markets did go crazy though. Crude oil didn't have a great day though. We saw 4.1 million barrel build in the crude oil reserves, and natural gas gets continued to be pounded. I am sore looking at natural gas prices too. So we'll cover all of that and a bag of chips, guys. But first, check us out online. World's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, dashboard.energynewsbeat.com. The best place for all of your oil and gas news. We are hard at work on V2. We officially have another software engineer working with us, so we are super excited about all the developments. Check it out, dashboard.energynewsbeat.com. Enough of the pleasantries, though, Stu. Where would you like to begin?
Let's start in going around the world in California. Since California is its own country, let's go to column: an open letter to Californians, a high utility bill explanation, and a path to a smarter energy future. Michael, this was written by Terry Edom. He's written a few books. He's an author up there. Love Terry. He's been on our podcast a bunch, and I really like him. He is funny. He says he loves Bugs Bunny. He loves California, but it has one thing. And he comes in here and goes, well, most of the time, maybe not this winter, your leaders are handing out the energy file. I think I'll just sit here in the heart of natural gas country and count my country's blessing. He's sitting here and he says, you're cutting out all your natural gas, and hey, Attorney General, I found your public interest. Where would you like me to start, on the top or the bottom? And it goes through here. From the paper, SoCal serves 21.8 million customers more than 90% of them use natural gas for heating, cooking, water, and other sources. And now he's trying to get rid of natural gas.
I mean,
we love Terry Edom.
we love him. His writing style is awesome. I'd highly recommend hitting the description below and clicking on this article. I mean, he points out again some very specific facts. I thought this was interesting that nearly 1 in 10 people in California that are served by SoCal Gas were 90 days or more behind on utility payments, which is pretty crazy because here in Texas, I didn't have auto pay. I don't have auto pay on. I don't like auto pay. I don't believe in auto pay.
Right.
Just I don't know. I feel I want to go in and pay all my bills myself.
Yep, you want to hit the button.
You're 1 day behind on your electric bill. You get an email that says you're scheduled for disconnection. 15 days if you don't. I mean, they get on you here in Texas. So that's the difference between the regulated and deregulated markets. Regulated market like SoCal Gas, oh, you could probably not pay your bill for a year, and they pretty much have to keep you plugged in. Here in Texas, they'll cut you off in the middle of winter quickly.
Yeah, they get the chainsaw, cut your knees out. Yeah.
What's next?
Okay, let's go around the corner. Love me some Terry Edom. He is funny. This one, we're going to skip over to DC, which is another country. It's not even part of the U.S. anymore. This is a direct quote. We found no misuse of funds in Ukraine, says the U.S. Treasury with straight face, long-term energy price impact. Michael, this is kind of disgusting. You take a look at this. This ranking in here is what are the most corrupt countries in the world. Ukraine is right there in the middle of this bad dog. And we've had a long history of bad dog corruption going in here. And our Treasury says they accounted for every dollar that we've shipped over there. But how much came back through FTX? Billions. And we're sitting here thinking it went to funding. This is a great article. Listen, let me read this to you, Michael. APRA said the Treasury would continue to work closely with the World Bank, tracking U.S. distributions to confirm their use as intended, as well as Ukraine and other partners to tackle corruption. Alrighty then.
I do have to disclose that the Ukrainian national government is actually a sponsor of the show. They're paying us a cool $25 million an episode, so that's where some of the money's going. Podcast sponsorships.
Right. Let me give them your social security number for that bad.
I wish. I mean, this is absolutely this quote. We have no indication that U.S. funds have been misused in Ukraine, according to Treasury spokesman Megan Apper. The reason why they have the spokesperson come out and say that is so that none of the actual bigwigs are on record saying that. Because when in 2 years we find out that half of this money, as you said, was funneled back into the United States or funneled into FTX or went straight into the pockets of somebody or, defense contractors or whatever, there's blood on nobody's hands, but this poor old spokeswoman who just is now going to get crapped on because they had a gun to her head and say, just say there's nothing. Just say there's no misuse of funds. She's trembling at the thing. There was no misuse of funds. Just let my family go.
Right. Yeah. This quote in here, the score on the index, they got a 33 in the Ukraine. And on a scale of 0 to 100, where 0 means highly corrupt and 100 means very clean, Ukraine came in at 33. Let me just go real quick through these numbers. Russia, 28. Ukraine's more corrupt than Russia. Go figure that out.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Well, we're going to track
What's
this.
next?
Yeah. Listen to that. What's next? Riddle me this, as we say. What happens when 14 million trees are cut down to make way for wind turbines? Answer: Scotland littered by tons of toxic plastic shreds by wind turbine blades. Michael, like you said, the original article went ballistic. It almost took the server down. And that was back last summer. And then, so when you take a look at this new one, the new disaster is pretty bad. the energy minister, Michael Matheson, also admitted that no wind farm operators have been fined for failing to maintain their turbines. There's no scheme in place to manage microplastic pollution. Michael, I told you, I'm looking at those numbers, and meantime between failure and everything else I can find on wind turbines, it's less than 8 years. I mean, it's less than 9 years. We're into that 8 years instead of 30. This is a thing. It's the blades are falling apart and pollution is going on. This is like with the story we ran with the whales dying. All of a sudden, this renewable is not that ESG friendly.
Yeah, I mean, I could have told you very quickly that cutting down, thousands of 14 million trees to put up wind farms was a bad idea. So, I don't think it takes a genius.
No, but let me read this last quote. Otherwise, the responsibility for wind turbine maintenance may lie with private companies, but the SNP must monitor the state of Scotland's turbine sanctions companies that don't apply with upkeep. Otherwise, we end up with an environmental problem. Oh, yeah. Let me just go to the next one. Okay. Speaking of environmental problems, there is a religion out there, and the religion has infected NATO. Michael, this one's
good. This one's good.
This is good. NATO chief wants military tanks to have solar panels. My quote on that is, it takes a village to raise an idiot, and the green village is global. Holy smokes. On this article, there's a picture of a solar panel on a tank. That's pretty much a joke. But if you go in, Irina Slav came up and she said there are articles all over LinkedIn and Twitter. It would take 168 panels to power a tank. And people said they could take it out with a BB. They could throw it out, and Marines were out there saying they'd throw a blanket on it.
I just love this. NATO should do its part to look at how we can reduce emissions from military operations, said NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. We know that heavy battle tanks are fighter jets, where naval ships consume a lot of fossil fuels and emit greenhouse gases, and therefore we have to look at how we can reduce those emissions by alternative fuels, solar panels, or other ways of running our missions. I can't wait till we have wind-powered fighter jets. It's exactly what I want my F-16 powered by, wind.
Did you
it's either that or you're going to have a little person shoveling coal in on the back. You'll have two pilots. One pilot shoveling coal, the other one's flying.
Did you see that tweet that I put out about that F-35 pilot with the wind turbine?
No.
That's exactly what it was. It was the F-35 on a carrier deck, and that wind turbine was up above it, and it's all bent up and everything. I just put that out on Twitter just a few minutes ago. So
yeah,
anyway,
I mean, it's
this religion is taken everything and thrown it out. Unbelievable. All right, let's roll to the Club Med. Michael, you and I love Club Med.
Love it.
Love Club Med. There's a lot of stories around the Mediterranean and geopolitical stuff. This article, Michael, is titled McDermott Joins in on Greece-Africa Interconnector Project. The map on this article really gives you a good idea. Coming in from across Crete and then over into Athens, physics matter. You cannot tell me that creating energy, putting it into a pipe, if you would, a pipeline or a conduit underneath the Mediterranean and then popping up in Crete, bringing it then back over into the rest of Athens, Greece, and then on to Italy. You got to be kidding me. Let's go through some of these quotes in here, Michael. This is a memo of understanding of strategic importance, said Michael McKelvey. I am proud to join forces with is that Unice or Unic Energy Group? on the Gap project.
I mean, to help build the future of energy. I mean, it's pretty dumb. Electrical transmission lines at some point will be a thing, but there's too much dissipation across endpoint to endpoint to make any of this apps actually worthwhile. So I'm with you, Stu. I don't necessarily think this is a smart move. This is just the one of the final, in my opinion, ESG investments that'll end up going south before they all shift around.
I couldn't agree more. And then part of that downside of that
problem is, where do you put your money? You can't put an LNG project. You won't make your money back for 80 years at these prices. That's the other thing you got to deal with. There's people running strip. Ooh, baby.
Yeah, but it goes down to $1.50 buy with both hands. Okay, but we don't give investment advice. Okay.
No, you'll be broke if you took mine.
Yeah.
Broke if you took our investment advice.
BP coming around the next corner on the next story. BP CEO plays down renewables push as returns lag. Translation: investors expect returns and renewables are not profitable.
Yeah, this was a great article, Stu. This was out of the Wall Street Journal, and I'll read you. I'll read a couple quotes. The top line quote is: CEO of BP Bernard Looney plans to dial back elements of the oil giant's high-profile push into renewable energy, according to people familiar with recent discussions. Mr. Looney has said he is disappointed in the returns from some of the oil giant's renewable investments and plans to pursue a narrow green energy strategy. The people said he has told some people close to the company that BP needs to do more to convince shareholders of its strategy to maximize profits in areas where it has a competitive advantage, including its legacy oil and gas operations. Maximize the profits in an area where it has a competitive advantage. It's almost like he learned that when he was getting his Stanford MBA, but he's since forgotten that and is now all of a sudden realized it, has had like a come to Jesus moment of like, oh, wait, it all is about profits, when he had this like 5-year escapade into wind farms. In some of the conversations, Mr. Looney says he plans to place less emphasis on so-called ESG goals, a catch-all term for environmental, social, and governance, to help clarify that those aren't distracting the company from its ability to deliver profits. Yes, because you're called British Petroleum. I mean, they're literally called British Petroleum, yet they're going to go invest in wind farms. You're right. Mr. Looney, the people said, is casting the moves as a modest short-term course correction rather than a major strategic pivot for the whole 14-year company. Yeah, that's why he's just couching that. Analysts and some investors say pledges by BP to shift away from fossil fuels and into renewable energy risk handicapping the company's performance. Many companies are struggling to transition to new green technologies while relying heavily on traditional energy. Spokesman, a BP spokesperson, referred to previous public statements, of course they did, that Mr. Looney said about BP have made the company strategy, including its commitment to reducing its carbon emissions and shifting investments into green energy. Mr. Mooney declined to comment through his spokesman. Well, of course. What is he going to do? Yeah, he's going to say, well, yeah, you caught me. You caught me. All these sources are right. We failed. We're switching. No, they're gonna come out and say that's how they say he declined to comment. Well, I'm glad he did.
Not all that long ago, we were talking about investor energy hypocrisy, and investors are saying, hey, in ESG investing hypocrisy. We found out what losses people are willing to take. Energy, #1 sector last year. They are done with ESG investing in false ESG investing. And so I think that BP, Chevron, I was all about Chevron because they did not follow down the BP and Exxon, and Chevron was sticking with their oil. Oxy was getting into the carbon CCUS and carbon capture and storage. They were getting into that, which is a whole new market.
Yeah, it's a little bit closer aligned with the oil and gas business, though.
Exactly.
I think the fact that we expect oil, a company that produces oil and gas to all of a sudden be the best wind farm company, that's stupid.
Exactly. So I think Chevron, the leaders of Chevron and the leaders of Oxy were on the right track. I think BP is over there kind of going, I'm a dope. I think
he didn't take that class at Stanford. He must have skipped that day of class.
Yeah, either that or he was raised in the same village as the NATO guy wanting a solar panel on a tank.
This is ridiculous, Stu. You got anything more?
No, I'm done, baby. Let's go with finance.
I mean, unfortunately, there's not much to cheer about. On the overall market side, we did see a confirmation of U.S. rate increases by 25 basis points. Guidance set at 4.5 to 4.75 percentage points. That was by Fed Chair Jerome Powell. He came out later today at about 1 p.m. with comments. Basically, look to expect us to move beyond 5 percentage points for U.S. federal funds rate. It's kind of where people expected it. You did see the market increase a little bit. I think that was partly due to some earnings that came out on the backside that were very impressive. Facebook came out and beat profit by 20%, which I think is a good marker considering they just laid off a bunch of people for the reasons that they weren't making any money. But a lot of what you see markets, S&P 500 up 1 percentage point, NASDAQ up 2 percentage points. That gap between S&P and NASDAQ, a lot of that's due with these Facebook earnings. They've been lagging over the past 4 months. Beating revenue this quarter is actually really good for them. On the crude oil side, we just saw a really, really down day. Crude oil currently trading at 70.04. That was down about 2.5 percentage points. On the day, we were trading at about 79.75 as the morning woke up. Part of the reason we saw a dip was a confirmation of a crude oil storage build. As we know, yesterday, the API came out and predicted about a 6.8 million barrel build. Well, the EIA printed this morning a 4.1 million barrel build. So a little bit less than the street expected, but still nonetheless not a good sign. As we look at where markets might go from here, I mean, everything is lining up on a bearish tone. I do think there is some demand side pull factors that might keep us above that 75 mark, but everything continues to just dance around in that bear market. Natural gas continues to get absolutely pounded. We're down to $2.52 right now. Again, off the back of just extremely strong production numbers. I know we have had this cold front come in, but those long-term weather models do not look good. We will see EIA storage print tomorrow, or as you're listening to this on Thursday. Range of expectations somewhere between 130 BCF and 155 BCF draw. To give you an idea, Stu, last year we had a 261 BCF draw. So we're expecting about half as much less, and we're producing much more natural gas. So that is, the fact that I didn't necessarily put 2 and 2 together till it was too late. Again, you would have lost all your money taking my investment advice. I would have loaded up on natural gas options. We got a guy in the office loading up on options right now. Ooh, that's spicy. Loading up on some call options. Spicy. Man. Buyer beware. Now, you might get lucky. Freeport opens up. You see a bounce up to 4. Who knows? But it's a very interesting move. Not sure if I'm about it. Would you be buying natural gas futures, Stu?
$1.50 is my strike.
Whoa. Ooh, $1.50. That's not even oil and gas companies can't even make money at $1.50. Ooh.
I'm just the crayon I'm looking at. You take a look at demand, you take a look at this. That's the number I'm coming up with, and I don't like that.
If gas comes to be $1.50, we're just gonna skip the show, and all we're gonna do is just play a small violin on the show.
Well, Michael, that's why we're the energy news beat. We're not reliant on one market, kind of like some of the other folks that are just oil and gas. See,
I can't think of who you're talking about. I'd have to, I wouldn't want to name names, but you may have to enlighten us at some point.
Oh yeah.
Anything else, Stu, before we get ourselves in trouble?
Oh no, the legal firm is going to be calling us. You're the HR department, and I'm going to have
any lawsuits we get, I just throw it in the trash. So we could be getting sued by God knows how many people, and we wouldn't even know. That's what happens when you hit legal up. So go ahead and sue us. You know who you are. Sue us.
Yeah. All right, man. Rock on.
Cool. Well, with that, guys, we'll let you get out of here, get back to work, and start your day. Thank you for checking us out. World's greatest podcast, the Daily Energy News Beat. Stand up. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. Stay safe out there, folks.